another episode of Unfiltered. Guess what? It is election day. Did you get out and vote? If you didn't, it's too late now because the show's on at 7:30 at night and polls closed at 7. So I can't tell you who won because I don't know. I'm taping this on Monday morning. So in order to, allow myself time to get out and vote tomorrow morning, which is the day I usually shoot Unfiltered, I'll tape on Monday morning. Not sure, really. There are a few things. For one thing, this past weekend was the very last air show of the season for the Blue Angels and for the United States Thunderbirds. They both flew their last shows of the year. This weekend, I believe Thunderbirds were Stuart, Florida, and the Blue Angels were at Pensacola, their homecoming air show. I should have been there, but with all the financial setback for the whole eyeball thing, didn't make it this year. I'll get down there next year. Hopefully I'll be back to a full air show schedule next year. So let's take it over here to the rant cam. Because, there's a couple things. One thing I'd like to point out that climate change, scientists have said that climate change is man-made. It is due to our use of carbon fuels and increased carbon dioxide production and pollution. And there's one thing that people neglect to mention when it comes to climate change, and it is a huge factor in climate change, and that is development. Development is screwing up our planet. I know you're wondering why. Where the hell did this come from? Hurricanes. Hurricanes went on long before we got here. Guess what? The land survived. But we came along. We decided to put condos on the beach, wipe out the sea marshes, wipe out the dunes that protect the coastline from the ocean, wipe all that stuff out, put up big fancy houses because we've got to feel important. And then we cry when the ocean washes our house away. Development has more to do with climate change than anything else. This earth can control its temperature. It can self-control everything all by itself. It does not need us playing God. We don't want to believe in God, but we want to play God. Yeah, isn't that funny? And I'm going to follow it with this, the whole evolution thing. People, they threw God away. God didn't make any of this. This is all can be scientifically proved. It's evolution. Man evolved to adapt to its environmental conditions. Environmental, social, all that is involved in our evolution. We change. medicines have stopped that. Yeah, again, because we think we can play God. We think that we can be the ones that can control life. And we can't. I've got news for you, we can't. The laws of evolution say the strong survive, the weak die. There you go. But again, we don't want to believe in God, we want to believe in evolution, but yet we don't want to let evolution take its course because it's a sad thing when the weak die. Again, emotions ruin it. Emotions get in the way of evolution. Yeah. And again, you don't see the lion crying because the bunny rabbit dies. You know? You don't see a bird. You know, you don't see a crow crying because the squirrel got hit in the road. No. That's the way it is. If you're stupid enough to get run over by a car, guess what? Evolution worked. Eventually, things learn to look both ways before they cross the street. And again, there we go. By us encroaching our lives into the wild lives, and it happened right here in Keene, New Hampshire, when we took a beautiful, beautiful, unspoiled forest on Maple Avenue, clear-cut it, and built a big friggin' school that we're not going to maintain for 25 years. So in 25 years, we're going to have to find some other place to go. Meanwhile, did anybody think of the wildlife or the life in general that was in that forest? Of course not, because we're humans. We are the most important thing on this earth. Get over yourselves, people. Get over yourselves. We're not the most important thing on this earth. We are probably the number one threat to this earth. Speaking of threats, I take huge offense when somebody says that terrorism is not the biggest threat to this country, it's the white man. Number one, guess what, people? That's the most racist statement I've ever heard. Yes, you can be racist against white people. Look it up in the dictionary, you freaks. Racism is, and I wish I had a dictionary here because I would read it right out to you. Racism is favoring or not favoring things according to race. It's things based on race. So when you say something is a white man's fault, that's a racial thing. Because the fact that he's white. The same way if I say everything is because of the black people, or everything is because of the Chinese people, or everything is because of gay people. Of course, gay is not racism. That's it's sexual choicism. But you get my point. The reason we have racism is because we lump people into categories. And number one, racism's easy because you can point out the differences. Oh, he's black, he's white, he's Chinese. It's easy to see those differences. But if you don't look at differences, then people are just people. But it's when you stand up and say, I demand special treatment because I'm black. I demand special treatment because I'm gay. You don't demand special treatment. And you don't deserve special treatment. You deserve, guess what? The exact same treatment as everybody else. Why is that so hard to understand? Nobody should get special treatment. We are, after all, human beings. There's no special treatment for anybody. And if you stop looking at the fact that there are differences, everybody should be treated the same. Number one, we don't choose our color. We don't choose our race. So, by people saying white men are the problem, guess what? I didn't choose to be a white guy. At the same time, if I try and act like a black guy, people will give me crap for cultural appropriation because I'm trying to act like a black guy. Well, guess what? Maybe if white guys are the problem, maybe I don't want to be a white guy, maybe I want to be a black guy. And if a guy can identify as a woman, why can't a white guy identify as a black guy? You see where all your crazy liberal thinking has got you? People just aren't themselves. Oh, geez, today I think I'm going to identify as a dog, so I'll just lay in a corner and lick my nuts. You can't just do that. Let's identify as special groups, and make sure that, God damn it, people know what group I'm from. Guess what? If we weren't in groups, we wouldn't have to be so divisive. There we go. I mean, damn it, people, get a hold of yourselves. Start thinking with logic and not with just separating everybody. Because again, you want damn categories. Let's have categories. And if that's the way that you really want to live, we can live like that. We segregate everybody. Jews over here, blacks over here, Christians over here, Muslims over here, atheists in the middle. Flat earthers, go live on the other side of the globe. You see, we spend all our time putting people into categories instead of just thinking of them as people. You know, and if it's not black or white or straight or gay or man and woman, then it's rich and poor, or there's educated and non-educated. You know, and all of it is for naught. All of it is to make our own beings feel better about ourselves. Because we feel less around different people. And it's stupid. Self-reliance, self-responsibility. You know, you take care of yourself. You help friends. And again, how can you say that you want to help the world as you step over homeless people in your own town? How does that happen? Again, people that always say, you know, when what are your dreams? I want to travel the world. Well, have you seen our own country? No, I want to see the world. Start with our own country. Again, it has nothing to do with nationalism and nationalism. I think that's another one of those buzzwords. You know, nationalism. They always say it goes back to Hitler. But it wasn't about nationalism with Hitler. It wasn't about a strong country. That was about one certain group of people in a country. Again, you know, it comes right down to exactly what the liberals are trying to do. Only in this case, they're trying to crush Christianity. Liberals don't want you to believe in God. The liberals want you to believe in their science. There's no room for God in the Democratic Party. That's right. Again, this is America. This is where you are free to worship whoever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. It is the country of freedom. We are free people. We can travel from state to state with no papers. You don't need special papers to go from New Hampshire to Vermont, or to go into any other state in the United States. Although I believe you do need a passport to go to Puerto Rico, which is kind of weird. Because that's, again, you know, papers, please. And, you know, I said last week, you know, as the freest people in the world, we can't just walk into another country. You can't just walk into Germany and say, hey, I'm here to stay. You can't just walk into Russia. You can't walk into any other country in the world and just say, hey, I'm here. I'm going to set up shop and live here forever. You can't do that. So why would we expect people to be able to do that here in our country? Yeah. Again, the Constitution is supposed to protect all American citizens. That was the original founding groups that came over here. And again, those groups just didn't all get along. We could have had many civil wars right among the different states, but each state was sovereign. And if you lived in Providence with, with the Quakers, and you didn't like that, you could move to Massachusetts with the Puritans. Or Jonestown with the Christians, the Catholics, or whatever. People, again, we could live like that if you want. And every group, stay in your own little place, and things will be just fine. Again, it's our own groupings of people. And again, when a Muslim, Islamic terrorist blows something up and everybody screams about Islamic terrorism, we're told you can't blame a whole religion for the acts of one guy. But it happens every time a white guy shoots up something. All these horrible white people shoot up everything. Again, you people are so far out of touch with reality because you're all wrapped up in your own little emotional turmoil that you don't know what's going on inside your own head, much less anywhere else in the world. People that want to come to this country legally want to come here for a reason. And usually the reason is for a better life. But just by coming here doesn't give you a better life. I lived 35 years, 40 years, wishing for a better life. But you know something? I never did anything about it. And then one day it snapped. Guess what? If I want a better life, I've got to make a better life for myself. You don't depend on the government to make you a better life. You don't depend on anybody else to make a better life for you, but you. And you know what they say, you run away, you can't run away from your problems, because generally when you run away, you take the biggest problem with you, yourself. You're the only one that holds yourself back. You're the only one holding yourself back. It's not a race thing. There are plenty of successful black people, successful Chinese people, successful gay people, there are successful people in every walk of life. The difference between them and you, they worked towards their success. They didn't let people tell them they couldn't do something. They went out and did it. They didn't, Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't listen when people told him he was too stupid to be a scientist. You can't be a scientist, you're black, you're supposed to be stupid. Guess what? He didn't listen. He could have, And he could have went down to the corner and sold crack if he wanted to. I'm pretty sure. But guess what? He didn't. He worked hard. He put in the time. He made a difference in his own life. And again, it's up to each and every one of us to make our lives better. And once you get your own life better, then you can make other people's lives better. Not by protesting and doing, big, getting on the news and stuff. All you have to do is smile at somebody. That'll make their day. A homeless guy, stop and talk to him. Give him a couple bucks. That's where you change somebody's life. Doesn't come from anything but giving of yourself without expecting anything in return. That's all there is to it. All right. I can't think of anything else to say. I didn't really know what I was going to say when I started, but I guess, I got through this half hour already. Let's go back over to the other camera here and wrap things up here. Again, be nice to each other. That's all it takes to make a difference in somebody else's life is sometimes it's as simple as a smile. Remember that. So, I guess that's about it for me for this week. Have a great week. Next Monday is Veterans Day. So I'll do a Veterans Day show on Tuesday next week. So until then, I'm Rick Blood. This is Unfiltered. Peace.